Time to be strong. How people are deprived of their future and how to stop agreeing to it. In reality, no one can break a person except themselves. Everyone is important. Willpower is what will lead you to victory. Willpower is the strongest and most powerful tool we have. It's a strength we don't realize, but if we learn how to use it, all our fears simply disappear. Earthquakes, disasters in Ohio, the threat of nuclear tests, financial crisis, and constant military reports are just a small part of what each of us sees in the news every day. I try to share my opinion and comment on various situations and events because they are often not what they seem at first glance. Many are aimed at distracting us from something important. I know many of you would like to see more of my reviews to better understand who, why, and how is muddying the waters. To see the bigger picture of how the world is transforming, not just a small part from an angle that benefits someone. But now I want to talk to you about something else. The restructuring of the world, dirty games at the highest levels. We cannot, like an ostrich, hide our heads in the sand. We must not be blind in this world and ignore what is happening. It is important. As long as you think it doesn't concern you, evil does whatever it wants, remaining unpunished, simply because everyone shrugs it off and says, "This is not my business, it doesn't concern me," and the longer we try to ignore what is happening, going into the mode of three monkeys, the more evil gets free rein. At the same time, I often notice that many other people who try to follow the events happening in the world go into another mode, one where understanding the world you live in begins to cause depression and horror. Undoubtedly, realizing many manifestations of this world that were previously unnoticed is very important. This is one of the main aspects and stages of awakening consciousness. But when it turns into a state of not wanting to live or a feeling of hopelessness and being trapped in a cage with a beast, this is no longer normal. Often people just start to excessively focus their attention only on horrors. They perceive only negative and bad news or events, completely stopping to perceive the good. As a result, consuming kilotons of information that increasingly worsens their state. They lose the sense of a bright future. They feel defeated, only having enough energy to watch a movie or scroll through social media and news channels, the very ones that put them in this state in the first place, and many do this quite consciously. All these described processes and states can be summed up in just two words: suppression of will. Those who try to convince a person that the whole world is heading into an abyss, that everything is predetermined and nothing can be changed, are engaged in suppressing the will, to instill a sense of panic, fear, depression, and helplessness, especially helplessness, because when a person does not feel their inner strength, they are neutralized, they can be manipulated, their will suppressed. They won't become a Spartacus capable of changing the course of history and freeing themselves and others from slavery. This is the result they want from you: to remove the belief that everything will be okay one day, to neutralize you, so that you do not become an obstacle. Or even worse, to help them implement their plans, as your state will reflect your outlook on the future that you will project into reality. Your free will, an intention around which the frames of reality will spin. Thus, from an opponent you become their main weapon, a tool for implementing goals. Through you, they will create further chaos, destruction, and misery, and you, feeling helpless against evil, will become the hands through which this evil will be done. Because in such a case, you will act and say, "I can't do anything about it, I can't oppose them anyway. I do this because there is no point in resisting. Evil cannot be defeated. This is broken. Whoa, why try if we all face a terrible future?" But you don't realize that this is not reality. It is all just a product of your state, your perception. In reality, nothing in the world is predetermined and nothing can be changed. Only the past cannot be changed. The past cannot be changed alone. The future is always dynamic and changeable. Whatever happens, there are no irreversible processes. The past cannot be changed. The future is always dynamic and changeable. Whatever happens, there are no irreversible processes, but you are persistently trying to be convinced otherwise. In the news, in social media feeds where all this flourishes. If you ever fell into such states or are in them here and now, realize that all this is just illusions of the mind. Step out of them. In reality, no one can break a person except themselves. Everyone is important. Willpower is what leads you to victory. Willpower is the strongest and most powerful tool we have. It's a strength we don't realize, but if we learn how to use it, all our fears simply fall off. Like dry dirt. Husks, trash, unnecessary litter leaves our life. We realize our power, the power of a creator, the master of their reality and their life. And these are not just words, it's physics. The physics of this universe, where intention gives birth to thought, and from thought, the framework of a new thought form is created, shaping reality. And this thought form cannot be destroyed by any force, pressed, reshaped, or broken, because it will be a manifestation of your will, and your will is unbreakable as a fact, as a given, and as one of the main laws of the universe, which no one can violate. Realize your strength, learn to build your intentions into unbreakable frameworks, and remember that doing nothing or giving up is also a choice. What we have heard so far is how people are deprived of their future and how to stop agreeing to it. In reality, no one can break a person except themselves. Everyone is important. Willpower is what will lead you to victory. Willpower is the strongest and most powerful tool we have. It's a strength we don't realize, but if we learn how to use it, all our fears simply disappear. Current events and distractions, earthquakes, disasters in Ohio, the threat of nuclear tests, financial crisis, and constant military reports are just a small part of what each of us sees in the news every day. I try to share my opinion and comment on various situations and events because they are often not what they seem at first glance. Many are aimed at distracting us from something important, the bigger picture. I know many of you will like to see more of my reviews to better understand who, why, and how is muddying the waters, to see the bigger picture of how the world is transforming, not just a small part from an angle that benefits someone, facing reality. But now I want to talk to you about something else, the restructuring of the world, dirty games at the highest levels. We cannot, like an ostrich, hide our heads in the sand. We must not be blind in this world and ignore what is happening. It is important. As long as you think it doesn't concern you, evil does whatever it wants, remaining unpunished, simply because everyone shrugs it off and says, "This is not my business, it doesn't concern me." And the longer we try to ignore what is happening, going into the mode of three monkeys, the more evil gets free rein, emotional responses to global events. At the same time, I often notice that many other people who try to follow the events happening in the world go into another mode, one where understanding the world you live in begins to cause depression and horror. Undoubtedly, realizing many manifestations of this world that were previously unnoticed is very important. This is one of the main aspects and stages of awakening consciousness. But when it turns into a state of not wanting to live, or a feeling of hopelessness and being entrapped in a cage with a beast, this is no longer normal. The suppression of will. Often people just start to excessively focus their attention only on horrors. They perceive only negative and bad news or events, completely stopping to perceive the good. As a result, consuming kilotons of information that increasingly worsens their state, they lose the sense of a bright future. They feel defeated, only having enough energy to watch a movie or scroll through social media and news channels, the very ones that put them in this state in the first place. And many do this quite consciously. All these described processes and states can be summed up in just two words: suppression of will, tactics of fear and helplessness. Those who try to convince a person that the whole world is heading into an abyss, that everything is predetermined and nothing can be changed, are engaged in suppressing the will, to instill a sense of panic, fear, depression, and helplessness, especially helplessness, because when a person does not feel their inner strength, they are neutralized. They can be manipulated, their will suppressed. They won't become a Spartans capable of changing the course of history and freeing themselves and others from slavery, the desired outcome of manipulators. This is the result they want from you. To remove the belief that everything will be okay one day. To neutralize you, so that you do not become an obstacle, or even worse, to help them implement their plans, as your state will reflect your outcome in the future that you will project into reality. Your free will, an intention around which the frames of reality will spin. Thus, from an opponent, you become their main weapon, a tool for implementing goals. Through you, they will create further chaos, destruction, and misery, and you, feeling helpless as against evil, will become the hands through which this evil will be done. The illusion of helplessness. Because in such a case, you will act and say, I can't do anything about it, I can't oppose them anyway. I do this because there is no point in resisting, evil cannot be defeated. This is broken will. Why try if we all face a terrible future? But you don't realize that this is not reality. It is all just a product of your state, your perception. The nature of reality. In reality, nothing in the world is predetermined, and nothing can be changed. Only the past cannot be changed. The past cannot be changed. The future is always dynamic and changeable. Whatever happens, there are no irreversible processes. The past cannot be changed. The future is always dynamic and changeable. Whatever happens, there are no irreversible processes. But you are persistently trying to be convinced otherwise. In the news, in social media feeds, where all this flourishes, recognize and utilize your will. If you ever fell into such states or are in them here and now, realize that all this is just illusions of the mind. Step out of them. In reality, no one can break a person except themselves. Everyone is important. Willpower is what leads you to victory. Willpower is the strongest and most powerful tool we have. It's a strength we don't realize, but if we learn how to use it, all our fears simply fall off, like dry dirt, husks. Trash unnecessary litter leaves our life. We realize our power, the power of a creator, the master of their reality and their life, the physics of will. And these are not just words, it's physics, but the physics of this universe, where intention gives birth to thought, and from thought, the framework of a new thought form is created, shaping reality. And this thought form cannot be destroyed by any force, pressed, reshaped, or broken, because it will be a manifestation of your will, and your will is unbreakable as a fact, as a given, and as one of the main laws of the universe which no one can violate. Realize your strength, learn to build your intentions into unbreakable frameworks, and remember that doing nothing or giving up is also a choice. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel. Become a member of my Telegram channel and discuss with like-minded people as a club member.